As far as my quick introduction, I wanted to go through this, and I will try to go through this as quick as possible because Dinesh has the meat of this and the stuff I think that everybody really excited to see in the WebFocus 9 world. But I did want to go through again what my not too early data analytic trends are going to be, and I tried to tie at least the first part of these mostly to things that if you guys are WebFocus users that are going to be directly related to you guys from the product standpoint, and kind of back to also some general things as well. The first 5 there are specifically kind of related to WebFocus. I'll go into each one of these, so I won't go into them here, but as many of you may have seen, IBI, at least the brand is coming back, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. There's some software license changes that we want to at least mention that we continue to hear a lot of our clients going through that we want to at least mention that you guys will be aware of. The continued growth of the data scientist. Dinesh is going to go deeper in that, but I will at least give my quick thoughts on that before we move on. Intelligent managed delivery services. How we're delivering things now that some of the TAM and the way that TIBCO supports their clients post sales has changed. It's still there, but definitely changed over the last couple of years. NLP, so just conversational analytics and where that stands. Data anywhere architecture, data fabric, data mesh. You've probably heard these terms. We'll talk briefly about that. Data as a service and analytics as a service are things that continue to grow. I see those continuing to take more hold next year as well. Data virtualization, data governance. Again, I won't go into this now. We'll go into those individually. Again, most of you guys who have been around for a while have probably seen this logo. I thought it was funny. The first time I saw it was in somebody's from TIBCO. They had it in their actual signature, and I was excited to see it come back. It's one that's meant a lot to us that we've worked with them so long. They are not coming back, as a separate company. They obviously information builders and the products that were purchased during the merger are still part of TIBCO, but they are, as an organization, from our understanding, at least right now, the plan is to actually split those out under a separate business group. So you will probably see the information builders logo both in some of the TIBCO typical people who are supporting your accounts and in our product names and those type of things. So it's a very exciting thing for us. I mean, obviously we've really loved being merged with TIBCO, but they do have very different audiences for some of those products, at least some of the ones that we've used for a long time, and a lot of crossover between the two to see them come together. So we want to make sure that we kind of aware of that from as far as what that means to you. And that means that a lot of the sales support team that you guys have will be dedicated just to those products. From what we're hearing, again, this could change before now and the end of the year, but from what we're understanding, that the AEs and a lot of the people who are associated with supporting those products will be dedicated just to those. So that will be nice. They'll have a smaller set of things to be able to follow. They will still continue to have integration with key parts. This is one of the things with the TIBCO merger that was so exciting to us, because there were some very future-looking things that I think that TIBCO did very well, especially data science and some other things as well, streaming data, data virtualization, that were not in the IBI product, or not to the extent that TIBCO had already advanced it. So a lot of that integration has already happened and will continue to happen. So we're excited. That's kind of the best of both worlds. And then continuing development for those products, specifically for those products. So all that's very exciting for us. I won't spend all day on that, but that's something we're very excited for. As far as subscription licenses for any of you guys, and again, this is not for us to get into deep conversation, but just want to kind of make you guys aware. For those of you who are on maintenance type of contracts, where you're paying yearly maintenance, a lot of that's going to be changing over the next year. From our understanding, everybody who is now maintenance will be at renewal be asked to move to a subscription. So what does that mean to you guys? It means that just in the way that you license things will most likely change. It does not mean anything for the way that you're deployed for the most part, unless you change that in the new license. But you can still be on cloud, it can still be in on-prem. Although if you're in the cloud, you're most likely already subscription license anyway, or it can be both. So as far as how it's deployed will not change. It's just how it's licensed. So there will be some possible bonuses with the way that they're relicensing and offering that you may actually get a few extra products maybe you didn't have before. Data Migrator is the big one that comes to mind that's being wrapped into a lot of those. So again, nothing changing here, but I did want to make you aware of that. You know, if that's something that you guys have not heard about, I'm sure most of you guys have, but if you haven't, you can certainly have a conversation with your IE or reach out to us. We're more than glad to help facilitate that. We've worked with a number of clients of ours as well already through that process, and I'm glad to help you guys. Not really a technical or fun one, but one we wanted you to be aware of. This one's a little bit more fun, at least to us. The mainstream data science part, and this is something that's not new, but it's continuing to grow and support as far as the products are going to support people who are not really data scientists to be able to do some of these advanced things as well in low code and no code fashion. Again, that's something that's been there for a while, even back to my old days of information builders, working with some of their products. They had some click and drag things, but nothing to the extent that it is now. And Dinesh again is going to go much more detail on this, but it's exciting because again, these things are features that truly are changing the way that people are doing business, and it's almost getting to where if you're not doing this, you're falling behind. So the fact that the products are supporting that in a way that you don't have to have a special degree or a special background to be able to do is very exciting as well. And you still have that opportunity to be able to keep and integrate custom Python or R models as part of that as well. So, so very exciting to us. Again, Dinesh will go more into that. I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. Actually, he's going to go deeper into this one, so I'm going to skip over this part as well. Just we threw a use case in there just to kind of help illustrate that. As far as the way that people are getting support for their applications, again, continues to evolve. Involve more and more as people in the field of analytics, become more business minded and less technical. And this is something that we continue to see with a lot of the customers we're working with. And of course, there's flexibility in the way, obviously, once you start moving into the cloud, in the way that things are deployed, and that will continue to grow as well. We kind of threw a graphic down at the bottom of different models for that, starting from if you're completely on-prem. And we still have a number of customers who are. They want to be able to manage all their own operating system, middleware, the web-focused platform itself, or whatever platforms they have on there and the applications with it. But a lot of people have been going to the cloud, or another way of doing that is using more of a managed services group to be able to do that part as well. Not typically, usually when you start talking about the operating system and those type of things, but just being able to set up the servers and those things and having that managed. But doing infrastructure as a service is something that cloud hosting has definitely made a huge dent into. And then, of course, platform as a service, being able to hand off control of having to manage the actual applications that are running on the system using managed services. And TIBCO has made this very easy as well in their cloud offering that they have. So if you're using their cloud, there is some version of managed services in there. Typically just to make sure that the product software is upgraded and everything's just kind of running. It does not include, security work and, managing different report caster procedures and things that are running within the system, but just making sure that everything's up and running and that you're upgraded at the time. So definitely being able to support that is something that we've seen a lot of customers come to, where they want to be able to develop, but they just don't want to manage their platform. And then core staff augmentation services, where their developers are doing more work on either solely working with the business users to get access to the requirements and developing those and then passing those off, or they're doing the initial development and passing the management of the actual software off to us. So that's something, again, that we've worked with a lot of clients on, and a lot of partners are as well, is finding a way to be able to help support clients who don't want to keep the full staff to be able to do all the different things that are involved in keeping a platform up and going, and being able to use a partner to be able to manage some of that stuff has been a key part of that. And we call ours Intelligent Managed Delivery because it's made to be scalable, and we usually have resources there that are there to help manage that in a way that you're only using the resources you need at the right time and the right fit. But there's lots of different ways to do that. Again, it's something if you guys are looking forward into, we're more than glad to talk to you. But that's something that we've seen grow over the last 2 or 3 years, and of course I think 2023 is just going to be much more of that, especially as the TAM role at TIBCO has changed quite a bit. different models for that. I won't go on that, but just as a highlight, there are all different ways of doing that. Offshore, onshore, hybrid. Most people have kind of a hybrid role of that, but different ways of making that cost effective for you. The other thing that we see a lot of going into 2003 is the growth. This is, again, nothing new. Natural language processing has been around for a while and been in back into to the IBI days, into the product stack. But it continues to grow and continues to become more real world friendly as far as use cases to be able to do that, especially with the inclusion of custom things like we've been developing with the chatbot and integration with other applications like Slack and other things. It just continues to grow in its ability to be able to be more of a real world application. So something I think you guys will see. And again, let us know if you're interested in hearing more about that. We did actually a Data Anywhere. This is more on the subject of data fabric and data mesh. They get lumped together, but they are not the same thing. Data fabric is something that we did do a webinar on. It's been a number of months ago, but if it's something you're interested in, we're glad to send you a link to the actual video, or look it up on our YouTube channel. We do have a full webinar based on just data fabric. But the big thing here is, with all the data sources that you guys have currently, being partially on site or on-prem, partially in the cloud, some of it streaming from different places, coming from all these places, how do we create an architecture around to be able to support that, manage that, and get that to where our users can actually do analytics and run the system and run our business off of that. Being able to create that in a way that makes sense and controls that is something that, with all the additions of data in different places, is we're going to have. And you have systems like Salesforce, which some of you guys may use, that require it to be in the cloud. They don't have an on-prem version, and so if you're an on-prem client, you're going to have some mesh of that data if you're using their CRM data as part of your daily reporting. So, and of course, there's tons of other examples of that both ways. Data as a service is something that we continue to see grow too. Being able to have data, especially as streaming becomes more popular, and I say more popular, more capable of being done at a much more base level. We're got with our actual products that we have at TIBCO and other places as well. Data as a service continues to grow, because the ability to be able to include data from other sources inside your analytics is becoming much more powerful and much more easier to do. Again, keeping the data kind of separated from where it's at and creating a service around that allows you to be able to do that. And we even see this sometimes within organizations themselves, where a certain group within the organization will create their own data services for other groups within the organization to use. It, again, provides them a way to be able to kind of control access to that. But obviously, there's lots of vendors out there selling data as a service as well for specific needs. I'm sure some of you guys have probably already looked at. Analytics as a service is very similar to that, except for you're actually selling the other side of it. Instead of the data, you're actually buying the analytics as a service. And we see this more so in verticalized solutions, it seems like. But being able to have a solution where the analytics is already built, but you feed the data into it, and are able to get the analytics you need from that in a pre-built way. What we see the growth in that is because those products are becoming more and more customizable, where you can have that analytics as a service, but you can customize it to your need, because everybody seems to have different needs. We continue to see that growing over the next year. Data virtualization is another one that we have done a previous webinar on. Again, I won't go deep into this one at all. If you want more background on our thoughts on that, feel free again to let us know. We're glad to get you a link to that, or point you to our YouTube channel. But again, for guys who have been doing information builders, web focus for a long time, to me, this was kind of, when I first heard this, was kind of a funny one. Someone was asking me, almost what a use case for this would be, being able to connect to data from different sources and being able to report off of it from one place. And to me, that the first thought of that was, just create metadata for it. You've got metadata, you can connect sources from wherever, join them wherever, as long as the data is there, and be able to pull those within inside web focus. And that definitely still is kind of a very basic version of that. But obviously, as you know, and you can see from our webinar, many companies, including TIBCO, have come up with data virtualization systems that are much more advanced than that, and offer in-memory and some other things like that that are really changing the way that people are really accessing data, especially when they're not wanting to build out full data architecture or data warehouse or data lake whole thing for it. They want to be able to just kind of access where it's at and create some structure and management around there. So there's lots of use cases for that. I won't go over these for sake of time. I threw some of these in here, but I won't go over them today. Data governance, all I'm going to say about data governance right now, this has been around for decades. But every list that I looked at when I was kind of doing research on this that looked at 2023 trends, all of them listed data governance. And the reason I think for that is because with all these different growths and ways to be able to access data, you've got to be able to manage it. Whether you're creating data fabric or you're creating streaming data or wherever the data is coming from, they continue to grow, and you've got to be able to find a way to manage that. And the one thing that we see growing in this, and it's not really on this graphic, is even data science and the models that you're using for ML models and how they come play and how they're governed as far as how they're used and the lineage that comes from how you actually understand where that came from. All that stuff is continuing to grow and just growing the importance of data governance and the need to be able to put security and governance around that and lineage so to understand where it comes from. That's the last thing that I had on mine. I do want to, and again, hopefully our polls work. We're going to try this, but we ran out of time. But I did want to put a poll out to just kind of see which one of these, what means the most to you. There you go. We had to split it up, just in all honesty, because of the limitations of the tool we're using into 5 at a time. But I thought it made sense because the first 5 were more web focus related. So if anybody can, if you guys want to look and see and kind of let us know which of these kind of mean the most to you and going into 2023, I thought that would be a fun way to kind of guide our conversation and give Dinesh a little feedback as he kind of goes through some of the stuff he does as well. And again, nothing new here. I just wanted to kind of get a feel for that. I think we can probably close that one down. I think it shouldn't take long to fill that out. All right. Are we? It still shows on my screen. Are we closed down on that yet?
I'm still seeing it.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Do we want to run the other one really quick as well? For the last 6. There we go. And I want to thank the team who has been working with us on this, because again, this is a different product for us, so a lot of newness to this, and they've been champions in helping us figure this stuff out very quickly. All right, we should be good. You can close that one down, I think, as well. Okay, everybody, please give us feedback. We'll be following up with people as well, just to kind of get your thoughts. Any suggestions you have, any areas that we kind of talked about and briefly kind of brushed over today that you guys want to go in deeper detail, we would love to hear that comments on that and let us know, especially if there's things that are relevant to what you guys are doing now. We'd love to hear that information. So, but look forward to talking again. It probably won't be till the new year. So everybody have a great holidays over the next month, and look forward to continuing our discussions over the next year. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.